So, Craig, welcome.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for being here today, and thank you for accepting the nomination to be Father of the Month for February 2023.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Um, you know me, Eric Maldonado. I work for Say Yes Buffalo, but I'm on the Engaging Fathers Task Force,
Hmm.
and today I'm representing the Buffalo Fatherhood Initiative, right? Because what we're doing is we're trying to, help fathers be their best selves
Hmm.
for their children, right?
For sure.
Because it only makes all their outcomes better, right?
Definitely.
So tell me a little bit about yourself. Tell me about your family and your work.
Mm, I'm a 47-year-old guy that I lived in Buffalo all my life. Grew up here. I grew up in Hamburg, and then just kind of grew up there. Moved into moved out. You bought my first house, and then got married. Had kids and everything, and now I currently live in Alden, New York. I got I got a fiance, and I got three little girls with her. She has three little stepkids, and then I have two boys, and I have one girl. And I'm a respiratory therapist at Roswell Park Cancer Institute right now. That's kind of like where my career's brought me, and everything kind of the last 6, 7 years culminated, to bring me into this point, and here I am.
Wow.
Yeah, I got Mabel, she's 3, Hazel, she's 5, Madeline, 7, Devin's 13, Sophie's 13, and I got a 21-year-old in Florida, Liam. So that's my kids. Jennifer's my girlfriend. Yeah, we live on a little little hobby farm. I guess you'd call it a hobby farm
Hmm.
out in Alden, New York. It's in the middle of the woods. That's where we. That's where we. Homestead. Do our thing. We got some horses. We got horses, goats, chickens, ponds.
Wow.
You know, right now we're doing maple syrup. We tap the trees. We do our own maple syrup, our own eggs. We do a little bit of everything.
That's awesome.
Yeah, yeah. You got to keep yourself busy and stuff. Kids keep you busy, but I put them to work, so keep them busy too. They keep me
Tell me a
busy.
little bit about that. I mean, you have, with 6 kids, right,
Hmm.
and all different stages of life.
Yeah.
What's your relationship with each of them like?
Um, I had a very when I was in my 20s, I had a very unsettled future. I was married, I got divorced. I had kids with different mothers. I had 3 kids, 3 different moms, and I feel like I have a very good relationship with them. My first kid, I had custody of since he was 4. He had residential custody. I was awarded residential with him, and me and him have always been pretty tight. It was hard losing my first one, moving out of the house. So we've gotten a little more distant, but we're still there. We still talk a couple days a week and everything like that. So I didn't kind of lose that connection with him. I also play some video games, and that way I can connect with him. So he'll get on and we can have a conversation, kind of hang out. I feel like you're always going to be a dad as long as you live, but you're never going to, when they get a little older, you can actually kind of be more of their friend, not just their dad. And we've developed a good one. Devin, have I got a really good relationship with him. At least I feel, in my view.
Hmm.
And my daughter, COVID was tough for my daughter. We didn't see each because of my line of work, being a respiratory therapist. It was hard for me to see her during that, and we had it was it, we I had to win her back. I was absent for a while. I mean, we tried some other ways of communicating and stuff like that, which we did, but it's not the same as your daughter, being able to put your hands on her and snuggle her and you know be there for her. So that being said, it was tough, but I feel like the last year I've really gained back that trust from her, like, and we've bonded really well. Um, and then my stepkids, it was the same thing. Like, they were very standoffish at first. Their father isn't particularly really invested in them that much, so it was hard for them to kind of understand who's this guy around and everything. But you know, once I, you know, kind of just did my thing, they came around, and I think I have a really good relationship with them. I try to anyway.
How long have you been with them now?
About 3 years,
3 years.
three and a
Okay.
half years.
So that speak to the challenges there. I mean, you have like a transition and a blending of families,
Hmm.
right? So, what were some of the early challenges that you had to overcome?
Um, for me personally, it was I never had dated a girl really with kids. Um, I mean dated, but like long term. I never had a girlfriend who was long term that had children, and that was the toughest was learning them and earning their respect and learning their nuances, you know what I mean? And learning, you know, I mean, like a stepdad, like it's easy to be a dad. I mean, like in a sense, but being a stepdad, that's a whole nother level. I feel personally. I mean, it's you do all the work and you don't get the reward that you do with having your own natural children. I mean, it comes in different ways. You have to take from it what you want from it, but it's hard. You know what I mean? It was hard knowing when them being standoffish. Not and you want to help and you want to be there, but at the same time you kind of you can't really discipline them the same way you can with them. You can't do things that you would normally do with your own children that you would do with somebody else's children. You know what I mean?
Right.
They have you have to learn how to kind of you gotta move. As a father, we have many many different hats to wear, and that being said, this was a completely new hat that I had to put on, and I never did it before, and it took a little bit, but once I kind of figured out, what I could and what I can't do, and learning them, and learning how to talk to them and foster a relationship with somebody who doesn't inherently trust you,
Absolutely.
you know,
Absolutely. Very wise words. Learning who they are and earning their trust. Those things are key.
for sure.
Um, so as fathers, one of the other things we have to do, very often is try to instill in our kids a sense of hope, right?
Hmm.
And as you know, this year, as well as last year, our theme is to be a hope giver, right? Because we see
Hmm.
that when we give our children hope for a better future, for better outcomes, for more success, they tend to do better, right?
Yeah,
So
no doubt.
how do you go about instilling hope or modeling hope for your children?
I lead by example. Two big things I try to do. Like, and I didn't always think about it when my dad was teaching me, but you have to remember, like, you're what they we learn humans learn by association. They learn by what they're socialized to, what they see. That's how we learn. Whether you actively or passively do it, we all do it. And that being said, you have to I just try to I never yell ever. I stopped that years and years ago. I did that with my first child, and I seen the effects that it did on him. And I took this childhood psychology class, and it changed my whole worldview on parenting, life. You know what I mean? You know, it, it really opened up like a whole new world of I didn't have to be a teacher, you don't yell at them. You're not going to learn. They're going to shut down. And when I learned how to talk and articulate, use my words, and lead by example, they really, they do well for them. They're doing well for themselves. My 21-year-old, I always told myself, he's never gonna, I don't know if what he's gonna do, and he's doing really good for himself. So I feel like by changing and by being a leader and teaching them and mirroring, I've given them hope that that they can do the same thing. I feel like the craziest thing is, like, as a dad, you're teaching your kids lessons that, like, literally they'll remember. Like, when you're dead, we're all dead and gone. They're gonna sit there and be like, my old man, a pup, he was right. Like,
Mhm.
that's what he meant. Okay, so, like, that's the stuff that I try to, like, instill in them, like those memories, those things that they'll sit back at even when I'm not around, and you could still be a parent when you're not around. Even when you don't have to be in front of them to be a parent. I mean, you got to give them lessons and give them the hope is by giving them examples, and then they can go off of that for their future, and they can do the same thing with their kids, and then adjust it to what they need it to be.
I think you're right. I think you're absolutely right. One of the things we talk about in like our Nurturing Fathers program for our dads, which is our dads teaching dads how to be better fathers or sharing stories about how to be better fathers, is more is caught than taught, right? So more often kids are just going to go off your example. What are you showing them? Are you just telling them it's important to spend time with them, or are you actually spending time with them?
Right.
Are you just telling them that their homework needs to be done, or are you investing a little bit of time making sure that they, finish it and turn it in?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's really key, because in the end, they'll pick it up. They'll pick it up. So if I were to ask you, right, let's say there was another young guy coming up and he's got some of the same experiences you have, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
before, outside of camera, you've told me, you've gone from construction, went back to school, became a respiratory therapist, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You went from having previous marriage now to being engaged and having other children, and you have a blended family now.
Mm-hmm.
So with all those experiences, if there was a young man coming up who kind of looked like that, what would you tell him, or a younger version of yourself? What would you tell them to keep them encouraged, to keep them in the fight?
Trust yourself. Trust your instincts. Trust. That's the believe in yourself. You know what I mean? That's a lot. I feel like a lot of times when you're a young father and you don't know exactly what to do or how to handle a situation. You know, I I had my dad. I don't know. I don't. That's a tough question. It really is. I remember my first kid, and my dad. I asked my dad. I'm like, what do I do? My dad. Like, I'm 25. I don't know what I'm doing. My brain is still hanging out with my buddies, just drinking beers, and he's just looked at me. He's like, you figure it out. He's like, I don't think I got to tell you anything. He's like, you'll get it. And at first I didn't know what he meant, and I kind of think like that's what he meant. Like, you'll figure it out. You'll get it. Being a father isn't perfect. Nobody is. No father is perfect, and we all make mistakes. And all that stuff you see on social media with all these fathers, doing all this dad things all the time. That's no dad's perfect. We all make mistakes. So that being said, I tell them to trust themselves. Believe in your instincts. Believe in if you have a good base for a father. You know what I mean. If you've seen a good dad and you've seen a good man before, you have that gives you the tools. I feel. I don't know. I could be wrong. I'm still
No,
figuring.
don't doubt
I
it.
figure
Don't
it.
doubt it. You just sat there
Yeah,
and said, you got to
I
trust yourself, so don't doubt it. No,
yeah.
there's something to be said for following our instincts, for sure, for sure. And I guess, I was just looking for what you would say to encourage them, because the fact is sometimes a lot of our fathers, at least a lot of the ones that we work with, didn't have a positive role model, right?
Right.
So earlier you said, more kids learn, they'll get hope from the things that I do, from watching me, from being a leader. So yeah, it's always something to think about.
Yeah. If you think it's wrong, 9 times out of 10 it's probably wrong, and don't do it. If it feels off to you,
Yeah.
just don't do it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I mean, I've been on both sides of the fences, so it's definitely that's a tough question, but
So what kinds of activities you got planned for the upcoming weekend? And actually, we're off this week for school. So what are you doing with Devin and some of the kids?
Sugaring, doing some sugaring. Got about 40 gallons sitting out, ready 40 gallons of sap ready to cook up for the weekend.
Nice.
It's me and my 3-year-old. We both share a birthday. So not my 3-year-old, our my stepdaughter.
Hmm.
We're both sharing a birthday. So, you know, we're doing a dinner. I wanted a dinner for my birthday. I wanted to go out with all the, with so many kids and with the 5 kids and me and Miss Jen. We never go out. It's always pretty crazy.
Right.
So I just wanted to go out to a restaurant and eat. That was my thing. And then it's a Princess Rainbow Unicorn pancake party Sunday morning. So
There you go.
we're gonna have all the family over, kind of just have a big old breakfast, kind of hang out, relax, maybe take the kids down to the pond for a little fishing or something like that.
All sounds like fun to me.
Yeah,
Making those memories, right?
yeah, for sure. I put them to work. I put them right to work. And I feel like they need to, if you teach them young, if you give them that at an early age, if you give them responsibility at an early age, they learn. I mean, the menialist tasks, take out the garbage, do little things, and just build that up. It gives them, makes them puff their chest out a little bit, makes them feel important, makes them feel a part of the group, and then,
There you go.
you know, then they help each other. It's nice,
All right.
but that's my weekend.
I hope you guys have a good time. Thank you
Yeah,
for
for sure.
joining us today, and
Thank you.
congratulations again.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
All right.